Hey everybody, Tekking here. Thought I would start off this video by singing y'all a little song on the guitar here. It's about a fish. A whale shark fishman, to be precise. His name was Jinbe, and he was really nice. He left the Straw Hats and the crew to go fight Big Mom. It's what he had to do. And that's all I got. And also, for those astute about musical instruments, this does not have any strings on it, and even if it did, I don't know how to play the guitar. My neighbor threw it out the other day. I figured, I could probably use it for something, and use it for something I did indeed. Okay, so, what's going on with Jinbe right now? Let's talk about what's going on in the Jinbe universe. Like, well, right now, like, canonically in the story, fighting against a 68-year-old obese woman, yeah, but that 68-year-old obese woman, she can mess you up, like, big time. Yeah, so Jinbe decided to stay behind and fight against Big Mom while Luffy and the other Straw Hats managed to escape Totland. Now, I already brought this up in the review when I talked about that chapter, because a lot of people were, I guess, annoyed was the appropriate response to that, because a lot of us are like, just let Jinbe join the crew, just have him join the crew already. Well, he technically already did. Luffy announced himself as like, hey, I am your captain now, and Jinbe accepted that, and even if you go onto the wiki, it lists Jinbe as like the next Straw Hat. I mean, that's pretty much, I mean, you can't deny that he is a Straw Hat right now with that little interchange he had with Luffy there. He's definitely a Straw Hat. But the fact that he stayed behind when he could have just went with the crew, and the fact that he's done this already, he did this on Fishman Island, where he was like, Fishman Island. I don't know why I always add the D in it. I guess that's just a One Piece programming thing. I have to add the D in the center of every word. Fishman Island, he decided to stay there because he had to sever ties with Big Mom, and that made sense. So I don't think a lot of people were pissed off about that, because he's like, okay, this isn't just like a skeleton that was floating in a sea of death for 50 years that can just leave with the Straw Hats after he gets his shadow back, like a normal crewmate. This is a fishman that lives, you know, 10,000 meters under sea level, and he has to cut ties with a Yonko in order to properly join up with the crew. That, yeah, a little bit more complicated there with Jinbe. So it's fine, and, you know, he had his little cover story, you know, the solo adventures of Jinbe, the Knight of the Sea, and then finally he shows up in Totland, he rescues Luffy and Nami from the prison library, and then they have their big raid on the tea party and all that stuff. Jinbe revealed himself to be a pretty damn good helmsman, guiding the Thousand Sunny through a freaking tidal wave, a tsunami, managing to escape Big Mom, managing to land a hit straight on Big Mom. Vagabond drill! I mean, that was pretty damn cool. But after all of that, when the other members of the Sun Pirates decide to say goodbye and fare thee well to their captain, they decide to fight against Big Mom's crew. Big Mom is rocketing toward them. The sweet commanders are there. You got Smoothie, you got Daifuku, you got Oven, all trying to hinder their escape. Jinbe decides, you know, I cannot leave them there. I need to go fight for them. Now, something you gotta keep in mind here, and I think what Oda's going for, and I'm actually happy that he's doing this, is that, yeah, from a storytelling perspective, this would be the absolute perfect point for Jinbe to join. Jinbe, you know, he was already established, you know, he was introduced in Impel Down and Marineford, where we got to see, like, his character and what his abilities were, and then, you know, during Fishman Island, even more so, with, like, the backstory involving him and Hody, and more about Arlong and Fisher Tiger, so we know his past, and then Totland, where he actually arrives, you know, shows back up again to save the crew, so, yeah, it's like a mirror from when Luffy saved him from Impel Down, and now Jinbe saved him from the prison in Totland. At the end of Totland, no questions about it, from a storytelling perspective, strictly, that would be the absolute perfect point for Jinbe to raise a glass with the other Straw Hats and like, yes, to our new Nakama! You know, that would be great, okay. But Oda's keeping in mind Jinbe's character here. Would Jinbe be just okay with leaving his former crew behind? Not just a crew, but also people that he swore with and fought in, like, a war together, basically, alongside Fisher Tiger, who died. You know, Aladdin's there and everybody. Would he be okay with just being like, oh, my fateful crew. Alright, well, have fun fighting that Yonko fleet. I'm out of here. It wouldn't make sense. Jinbe is a guy that has sacrificed a lot for a lot of people over the years, even to the chagrin of Aladdin, because even Aladdin and the other members of the Sun Pirates were like, you know, Jinbe, it's okay for you to do something that you want to do for a change. You don't have to keep, you know, thinking about others. You know, you've done enough. You've done more than enough over the years. And Aladdin tells that to him, and Jinbe is obviously very emotional about that, and he's just like, oh, you guys, you're the greatest. But at the end of the day, that's not just gonna change his entire personality about it, okay? He still very much cares for these people, and he's spent a lot more time with the Sun Pirates than with the Straw Hats. He still very much wants to be a member of the Straw Hat. That's what he wants to do, but he still just can't leave his crew behind. So, it makes perfect sense from Jinbe's character. You might not be happy with it from the storytelling perspective, but Oda is really keeping in mind of how his characters would act here, not from just like, oh, okay, well, this is the way the story has to progress, so he's gonna join up here and just kind of like discard how he would feel emotionally about this situation. So I'm fine with that. And also, something else that was really important that Oda had to cement in during this arc, like he had to do this, he had to show how dangerous a Yonko is, the level of power and influence that Big Mom has over her territory. So I think, like, not giving the Straw Hats an inch up until the point when they get out, like, there's never a point where, like, someone runs interference for the Straw Hats and they just get away scot-free up until the very, very end of Totland. You know, it's like Pedro sacrifices himself, blows him up. It's like, okay, well, they're still in the middle of her territory. The Germa show up and help them out. It's like, well, that still isn't good enough. You know, you have a lot of people helping them out here, but still, he makes it really hard. Oda makes the Straw Hats work to get out of this place, okay? And up until the end, leaving Jinbe, but they don't really leave him behind. I mean, I guess they do, but it's not like they have complete confidence that he'll survive this. Okay, so it's not like they're just like, okay, Jinbe, bye forever. Like, they're definitely dead set on seeing him again. And I know some people even brought up, he's like, wasn't the whole point of Totland to bring back a member of the Straw Hat crew, Sanji, but now they left, and they left a member of the Straw Hat crew behind. The circumstances between Sanji being in Totland and Jinbe staying in Totland, two completely different things. Sanji, he was basically influenced by Big Mom to the point where, like, other people's lives were at risk here. You know, like, if Sanji didn't go, then the Baratier would have been destroyed and Zeph's, you know, head would have been cut off or something. They weren't really explosive handcuffs, but they thought they were explosive handcuffs at first. You know, there's a lot of different psychological and both physical limitations to keep Sanji in Totland. Plus, you had the whole thing with the Germa and his father and his siblings being in Totland, okay? So, completely different circumstances. Jinbe has no such connections at this point. All he needs to do is just survive long enough to ward off Big Mom and her crew and then just get the hell out of Totland, and then that's it. You know, there's nothing else connecting them. Now, you do have to concern yourself with Fishman Island, because Big Mom might attack that place afterwards, but they're kind of expecting it now, and Aladdin was kind of like, okay, well, we're gonna make sure it's gonna be alright. So the Fishmen might actually have a way to combat against Big Mom's crew, in some way. I don't know how they would do that, but they at least know it's coming, so they can plan a little bit here. Have no idea how that would go down. I would say maybe it could involve Shirahoshi's ability to control Sea Kings, because at the Big Mom Pirates, I mean, it's home field advantage for the Fishmen, because it's their territory. It's 10,000 meters under the water. I mean, yeah, Big Mom probably has access to coding technology, and she can code her ships, and they could get down there, but once they're down there under the water, I mean, all it really takes is them to pop the coding, and then you saw what happened when Hody destroyed all those ships underwater. They just get crushed by the pressure like that. So they could definitely manage to maybe fight back Big Mom's crew when they're, like, underwater like that. They would have home field advantage. You know, and Shirahoshi's ability to summon Sea Kings would be cool if she could control it, but also Shirahoshi's at Reverie right now, so I don't know how that would play out. But, yeah, if Jinbe and the other if Jinbe and the other Sun Pirates manage to escape Totland, probably one of the next places that Big Mom is going to attack is Fishman Island, and they can expect that, and they could plan for it. Now, I'm only fine with that to the extent of how Jinbe arrives back to the crew and properly joins, because I really hope we don't do the exact same thing we did in Totland in Wano. Like, Jinbe showed up in Totland out of nowhere, and well, not out of nowhere, we knew he was there, but he showed up, you know, out of nowhere to Luffy and Nami and saved them from the prison, and then managed to get them out of there. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. Jinbe saves the day. Awesome. I really hope we don't get a redone version of that at Wano, where the Straw Hats are, like, getting beat down or maybe captured by the Shogun or Kaido, and then Jinbe shows up at the prison like, alright, guys, I'm trying trying to jailbreak again, you know? Don't do that, because that would just be like, okay, what's the point? You know, you're just rehashing at that point, so don't do that. But in terms of, like, joining up with the crew, a lot of people have thought, it's like, well, maybe we want all of the Straw Hats together in order to properly welcome Jinbe as a member of the crew, you know, with that epic moment where they're all together, and, you know, like, they're, like, imagine Jinbe in the center of that, like, yes! You know, that's what we're waiting for, okay? Instead of having, like, the moment where they're celebrating, because if Jinbe would have stayed with the Straw Hats, with, like, Luffy and Nami and Brook and Sanji and Carrot and everybody, you notice I included Carrot as a Straw Hat, ooh, that was a slip of the tongue, I should correct myself. But yeah, if Jinbe would have stayed on the ship as they got out of Totland territory, there probably would have been a really, you know, celebratorial feast there. Like, let's welcome Jinbe to the crew. And maybe Oda felt like, without half of the crew there, it's not as powerful. You know, so let's wait until Wano. Now, Jinbe doesn't have to have a big epic entrance at Wano. He doesn't even need to be gone for a long amount of time. Jinbe, with the help of the Sun Pirates, managed to either push Big Mom back, managed to escape, or at least Jinbe manages to get away. Hopefully the Sun Pirates will all get away. I mean, at this point, I don't think Jinbe is going to just abandon them. It's like, alright, I stayed behind to fight with you. And then they fight, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to get away. You know, like, that doesn't make any sense. So they're going to stay. It's either they're all going to get away, or none of them are going to get away. That's kind of the deal here, okay? So they're going to escape from the Totland territory, from Big Mom. Somehow they're going to figure out a way to get away. There might be some battle damage in the intermediary time. Jinbe might lose an appendage. Jinbe might lose an eye. People have thrown out the idea, like, well, maybe Jinbe's going to lose an eye and then he'll get a badass eye patch or something. Like, that would be neat. Other ideas, and I was thinking about it, because last chapter you had that moment where Big Mom is like, life or death. There might be a moment where Jinbe gets, like, part of his life force sucked out, and then they still manage to escape, and Jinbe meets back up with the Straw Hats, but he doesn't tell them what happened. He doesn't tell them, like, oh yeah, Big Mom sucked out, like, 40 years of my life, so I don't really have much, like, time left. Now, that might be kind of a rehash with what happened with Pedro, so I'm not for that, but it's definitely a possibility that Jinbe might take some battle damage, either in the form of, like, life force, or the form of, like, a battle scar, or, like, losing an arm or a leg or something like that. Losing a leg, you know, or you know, something like that for a fishman, though, wouldn't be that big of an issue, because they're so versatile in the water anyway. Losing an arm I could definitely see, because Jinbe still needs to use his arms for, you know, fishman karate, and, you know, the sea current, you know, stuff he does underwater. He needs his arms for that. But I could see Jinbe, like, losing a leg and getting a peg leg or something, and still being just as badass as he always was. You know, or, like, you know, once again, the eye patch, or, like, an eye wound or something like that, you know. Yeah, something like that could occur. But when he arrives at Wano, it could just be like, hey guys, I'm here now. Maybe they might appear, it might be a really, like at the end of the chapter, all of a sudden Jinbe arrives at Wano, like, he emerges from the shore, and he's like, alright, I gotta go see my captain. And then that's how the chapter ends, and you see, like, a, you know, badass, like, eye patch on his face. He's like, I'm gonna go see my captain. Chapter's over. Break 2 weeks, okay? Yeah, now, other things that could go down is that maybe the other half of the Straw Hats might run into him before the current half that we've already seen. You know, like, wouldn't that be funny if, like, you know, Jinbe arrives at Wano, but Wano's, like, a big island, so they, you know, he's like, alright, well, where are they at? I have no idea. Jinbe is a big island. Where is it? And then Zoro runs into him or something, and Zoro got lost, and then Jinbe's like, oh, hey, Zoro. He's like, oh, Jinbe, where the hell did you come from? He's like, oh, I'm part of the crew now. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, glad that came full circle. So I'm looking for the castle. You mean that giant thing over there? Ah, damn it! So, that would be kind of funny if you get some, moments to see how Jinbe would interact with the other half of the crew. Now, of course, Jinbe has already met all of the Straw Hats during Fishman Island. I'm gonna really be careful not to mess that up. He's already met all the Straw Hats, but, you know, in Totland, we really got to see the dynamic between Jinbe and Brook and Nami and Luffy. So seeing how the dynamic would operate between him and Robin and Zoro and Usopp and Frankie specifically, how that dynamic would work in Wano. And then, finally, at the end of Wano, when the Straw Hats are escaping that place. Maybe that'll be the moment where we have the big, epic, celebratorial feast. And, adding to that, I'm not going to get too much carrot in the Jinbe video, but if we're going with that twofer idea, the 2-for-1 special, you had Jinbe during Totland setting up him becoming a new crewmate, and then during Wano, you have Carrot really be established and set up and dedicated as a crewmate. Whereas with Jinbe during Totland, it was kind of already a foregone conclusion that Jinbe wanted to be a Straw Hat. Carrot really hasn't expressed that all too much, because we haven't really, you know, she's a new character for the most part. We have the moment with Pedro, very emotional, but we've just never had a moment where Carrot was like, I want to journey with you guys forever. I want to be a member of the crew. You have Wano to establish that, and then at the end of Wano, we get not only the celebratorial moment for Jinbe, but also Carrot, 2 new members of the crew. Just keep writing that headcanon, Matt. It'll all come true eventually. Right, Nami? Yes. Okay. But, what do you guys feel about Jinbe's character? What do you feel about Oda's decision to keep him behind? How do you think that battle's going to go? Do you think they're going to get away scot-free? They're just going to mess with the sea currents, mess up Big Mom, and then just escape? Or there's going to be some battle damage in the process? How do you think Jinbe's going to arrive at Wano? How long do you think he's going to be gone? I really don't see Jinbe being gone for very long. Like, I would be genuinely surprised if it took more... Okay, let's be lenient here, because I don't know what's going to happen with Reverie, you know, how that's going to operate. I would be very surprised if it was more than 30 chapters before we got to see Jinbe again. So yeah, less than 30 chapters, that's my closest guesstimate. So, yeah, let me know in the comments below about all that stuff. Remember to like and comment and subscribe and all that good stuff. Signing out, everybody. I don't know if I could I fix this? It doesn't look like in the best condition. Like, it looks pretty, broken here. It was like just sitting in my neighbor's basement. But hey, maybe I could put some strings on this, fix it up, and maybe learn, like, to play an actual instrument. And I could feel like I'm doing something good with my life, instead of just sitting in front of a computer all the time talking about a freaking anime with a rubber boy in it. I'm just kidding. I love it. Bye, everybody!